Hello everyone, Science Viking here, and it's time to return to Myth 2 Soulblighter. After our honestly kind of surprising victory over the Trow, let's see what the game has in store for us next.
Thursday, February 26th, Outer Walls of Myrkridia. Today, after more than 2 months of separation, we have finally rejoined the rest of the Legion. I will not even hazard to guess the thoughts of those who first sighted the mighty Trow accompanying our force. After we settled in, Garrick told us of events in the west. Shiver's attack on White Falls came as expected, and the battle there raged for the better part of a month, until Baildon and the 7th Legion swept up from the south and attacked Shiver's flank. Her army was forced to retreat east toward Willow, and the combined forces under Ulrich and Baildon fell upon her rear guard, destroying it utterly. The victory was short-lived, however, as Shiver returned a week later with an army of Myrkridia. This time we were pushed across the meander, and now Tandem's fall is inevitable. So the king has decided on a new course of action. The Legion must capture Myrkridia, though for what purpose we cannot tell, for the city holds no strategic benefits. King Ulrich himself plans to be here within the week, and we must capture the city before he arrives. Our scouts have returned from the city proper, bearing grim news. The Shade Herod and a great number of Fetch and Myrkridia are occupying the old armory just inside the city walls. Tomorrow we lay siege to Myrkridia with the aid of the Trow and a team of dwarven mortars. Breaching the massive wall that protects the old armory is foremost on our list of objectives. While that curtain stands, our infantry is but grist for the mill.
Except it's a lot harder for us to replace our forces than it is for the enemy to replace theirs, so we really need to be careful about losing people. And what are our objectives for this mission? This looks kind of complicated. The ancient capital is occupied by fallen forces. Find a weakness in the city wall and blast through it with your dwarven mortars. The assault will fail if you lose your dwarves. Eliminate the forces guarding the city and clear the way for an airborne assault. Level. The wall fragments surrounding the city provide some protection against cannon fire. Because, yep, they brought the cannons back for this mission. The longer you stand in one place, the more chance you have of being hit by cannon fire. Cannons lead their targets. When you hear them fire, you're safe from moving in the opposite direction. Keeping your dwarves loosely spaced or staggered will let those closest to the enemy flee while those behind attack. We kind of learned about that strategy in Sons of Mirgard back in Myth 1. Your Trow are easier to see and more likely to be targeted by the cannons than your dwarves. Don't rely too heavily on the strength of your Trow. You'll need 1 or 2 in good health when you reach the walls. The city wall is weakest where it is notched. To fire at the wall, use the attack ground key, the control key by default. And so we have 4 Trow just standing in the desert, and Dwarven Mortars parachute in. Dwarven Mortars do this. They actually have essentially miniaturized cannons that have very long range and inflict absurd amounts of damage. And, well, we learned pretty well what the Trow can do in the last mission. So essentially we have a mission in which we get the strongest ranged unit, or the strongest melee unit and the strongest explosives unit. And we get 4 of each. This is going to, and we have to deal with cannon fire. This is going to be interesting. But before we proceed into the level, I'm going to get us a fresh recording file. I will be right back. Okay, I am back, and let's begin this mission. So, the thing about this is, the hints warned us about this. The Trow are very powerful, but being melee units, they take damage when they fight. We can't afford to let the Trow be worn down too much before we arrive at the castle, because we're going to need them for the final confrontation. Alright, and that's our first on-screen instance of the Myrkridia targeting a friendly. Didn't last for very long before the poor Myrkridia was just blown away. Okay, and I'll let the Trow handle the last Myrkridia. But that's really what we want to do. We use the Trow as bait, because they move rather fast, and use them to lure the Myrkridia around the map while the Dwarven Mortars unload on them. The thing is, it's very important to get through this part of the level with minimal casualties, because we're going to need everything we've got for the final fight with the Shade in the inside the armory. Alright, I heard it go off, and yep, the cannons lead their targets, so you can avoid them by just freezing, just like the hint said. Or even moving backward a little bit. And that's another Myrkridia that's gone berserk. One of the things about Dwarven Mortars is they often do just the right amount of damage to cause the Myrkridia to go berserk from full health. Which means this is one of the relatively few situations where we can actually exploit that feature. Okay, it's one Myrkridia. The Trow can handle it, and they're less likely to take damage from it than they are to take damage from friendly fire. Another interesting feature of the Myrkridia. This is never stated in the game, and I actually didn't discover this until I broke out the modding tools and attempted to make my own level. The Myrkridia don't just go berserk from having their total health reduced below a certain amount. They also go berserk if they take too much damage from a single attack. And so, just hitting them really hard once can actually cause them to go berserk, even if they're above the health level where they would normally do that. Okay, you go for that one. Just dispatch one Trow to take care of it. But mostly thanks to the cannons, the Trow have lost a bit of health. Another interesting thing, this won't be relevant until a later mission, but you can't heal Trow. Okay, this is starting to go wrong. Now I actually have to rely on the strength of my Trow a little bit. Because I wasn't prepared for that many of the Myrkridia to come from that side. Okay, that's the end of them. Lost a little bit of health, but nothing too severe. And we haven't lost anybody yet. And apparently it's not the end of them, because they're coming from the other side now. I guess we managed to... I guess the team of giants and guys with miniaturized cannons managed to sneak past these Myrkridia. Ooh, that cannon shot was pretty much a direct hit. And one of our Dwarven Mortars Trock is ailing a little bit. Okay. And now we just need to find a way up, and, ooh, a convenient ramp. It's important to be careful, though, because the ramps are guarded, and the forces guarding the ramp include fetch. It's also important to be careful because of the cannons. Because a direct hit on a Trow will do a lot. And it's easier for them to hit us the closer we get to them. We just, Puvis Era just lost most of his health in one shot. And yep, those lightning bolts are the product of fetch up on the high ground. Okay, the other issue... Okay, and we have lost a Trow. Whoa, and they're coming at us from the other side now. And from the high ground, too. And that's the end of that one. Okay, fortunately, most of the other Trow are in pretty good shape. Unfortunately, there's still a lot... Oh, that's what that was. Okay, and they're followed... Those Myrkridia are being followed up by Fetch, because they're actually the group that was guarding the other ramp. I guess they realized that we were coming up this ramp and decided to come over and try to ruin our day. Also, I haven't mentioned this before, but when a Trow reaches critical health, it will turn to stone. This effect actually cannot be cured, and so it is effectively dead for the rest of the mission. Like, even healing them won't undo this. So this Trow is actually gone. I guess, like, from a story perspective, they can theoretically heal themselves, like, between missions, and so maybe this guy could appear as a hero in a later mission or something. But, well, the level hint said we only needed 2 Trow in good condition, and we have 3. And these are the cannons that have been causing us all this trouble. The thing is, the cannons have a minimum range, and they're stationary, so we don't need to worry about that anymore. So, this notched point in the wall is the wall's weak point. So, we just blow the wall away. And it's going to take a few shots. The reason why I'm trying to be careful is because I want most of my dwarven mortars to be ready to fire when the wall comes down, because there's going to be a flood of Myrkridia coming out of here. As we can see. Alright, this is where we really want to exploit the splash damage, because we want to take out a lot of the Myrkridia fast. And apparently we actually have to trigger them. I thought they charged out automatically, but I guess they have to see us first. Well, I'm going to send in 1 significantly injured Trow as bait, and the boss of this level, get the Trow retreating back out of there. The boss of this level is this guy, Herod, the Shade. Shades are very powerful. They're very durable. They are very good at melee combat. And also, they have their own version of the Dispersal Dream ability that, okay, apparently they suddenly thought better of it when they realized they were staring down a bunch of mortars and decided to run away. Well, we're gonna need to lure them out again. Shades have their own version of Ulrich's Dispersal Dream, which means the contagious exploding is not on our side in this mission. He's the main threat. The other enemies are a threat, but... What? That was weird. The other enemies are a threat, assuming they decide to stop aggressively running back and forth in front of us and actually attack. But Herod is the real threat. Okay. Wait until they're actually outside the walls. Okay, what is your deal, guys? And that is the contagious exploding. Let's see if I can lure him into doing it again. Seemingly not. Well, I have regular, conventional, non-contagious exploding, which does that. Okay, just concentrate your fire on the Shade. Okay, just keep firing at the Shade.
Casualties.
Oh, shit. Yeah, contagious exploding is a cruel mistress. Just with wave of his hand, all the mortars are gone. Fortunately, just like Ulrich, he can only do that 3 times, and so the remaining 2 Trow can just take care of the rest of the problem themselves. And we got it! Not exactly the cleanest success, but I'll take it. And the only heroes are the 2 Trow, Tegula Cutis and Terremotus Calcitrare. And yeah, we mostly killed Myrkridia with some fetch and a Shade. That is Once again, that's another one of those gimmick levels, but this one I'm a little bit better at. It is a fun level, though. Both Trow and Dwarven Mortars are just fun units to use. Anyway, we've reclaimed Myrthemne. Now let's find out why it's valuable.
Friday, February 27th, Myrthemne. 110 years ago, during the Wolf Age, Myrthemne was sacked, burned, and all but buried under a mountain of rock and sand by Balor and the Fallen Lords. As I stood before the ruins of the mausoleum of the Cat Bruig, I could not help but wonder what we had hoped to gain by owning it. All was made clear when King Ulrich arrived today and revealed his intentions. Once we have recovered the Ibis Crown, he declared, Llancarvan will once more be the seat of the Cat Bruig Empire, with myself as Emperor. The people will draw strength from me, and we will go forth and strike down our enemies. Once they have been defeated, we will rebuild the Empire to its former glory. Legend states that whoever wears the Ibis Crown has at his disposal truly staggering power. Such was the artifact's power that Sir Soren, at fantastic expense, commissioned 11 ordinary copies of the thing to be made, in order to make theft of the true crown more difficult. When Myrthemne fell to the Fallen Lords, the crown was nowhere to be found. King Ulrich believes it was secreted away in the catacombs below the mausoleum of the Cat Bruig. Knowing that entering the haunted crypt is tantamount to a death sentence, the king has called for volunteers. Though willing, I will not be going below to help find the crown. Instead, I will be traveling south to Forest Heart to search for another relic, the Tain.
Mission objectives. Search the catacombs below Myrthemne for the Ibis Crown. One of your journeymen must live to recover it. Level. Hints. When ghostly forces battle each other, stay out of their way. Not all ghosts are hostile. There are hills in the catacombs that can be used to your advantage against long-range threats. There are several routes to the crown, each with its own hazards. If the force that you're facing looks overwhelming, there may be an alternative to direct confrontation. Many of the tactics you would use against a living unit will work just as well against its ghostly counterpart. Yep, that's the unique gimmick of this level. Ghosts. All of the enemies are ghosts. Make sure the bowmen don't fire. So, we're already seeing one aspect of the uniqueness of the ghosts, which is, so we have Ghost Myrkridia fighting Ghost Berserks and Ghost Bowmen. But second of all, when the ghosts decided to start attacking us, they disappeared fairly quickly. That's another thing about ghosts. You don't always have to kill them. They do all kinds of weird things to try to mess with you. There are some enemies in this level we will have to fight, but there are quite a few that we can just avoid.
Let's go.
There are also a number of routes through this level. And actually, I'm going to go this way.
I'm moving.
I was going to go the other way, but I changed my mind.
Let's go.
Whoa.
Let's go.
Yeah, we couldn't possibly take all of those bowmen down, but we don't have to. They fire one volley and then they disappear. We need to be careful, but as long as we're attentive and dodge, we can keep the damage we take to a minimum.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go.
Unfortunately, we've already got a somewhat significantly injured Berserk. But I believe we're past the hallway of archers, and now we have some Berserks to deal with. I believe these ones are actually hostile.
Yes. Ready.
Yep, they're hostile. Whoa!
I'm moving.
Apparently it's possible to re-trigger the bowman. Didn't realize that.
Yeah. Over here. Yeah.
That's what I mean. This level is... It's not conventionally dangerous, but
Let's
it will
go.
mess with your head.
I'm moving.
Which means it's very important. The main thing about this level is it's very important to keep your wits
Let's
about
go.
you. And, as some of the hints, well, hinted at, as some of the hints hinted at, it's very important
Let's
to
go. I'm moving.
think
I'm moving.
laterally, to think outside
I'm
the
moving.
box.
Yeah.
And Stygian Knights. Or possibly statues. It's not clear.
What now?
I'm moving.
Well,
What?
let's test something about these statues. Just get a little close to them. And yep, these are just statues. Later on in the mission, we'll encounter a very similar hallway to this,
I'm moving.
but those won't be just statues. They actually will come to life if you get too close to them.
Yeah. Let's go.
However,
Yeah.
I believe these ones won't.
Let's go.
So just run the Berserks through first as
I'm
kind of a
moving.
test group
Yeah. I'm moving.
to see if we can safely just run through here. And it looks like we can.
Let's go.
What do we have over here? Oh, it's got a hint of movement, but nothing specific. However, this is the crown. This is the object that we're looking for. It's just a matter of getting to where that is now. Also, didn't the statues used to be facing the other way? Yeah, when the bulk of your forces are past the halfway point of
Yeah.
that hallway, the statues will
go.
turn around. There's nothing dangerous about it this time. It's just there to creep you out.
I'm
Which a
moving.
lot of things in this level are fundamentally there to creep you out. Though there's kind of a challenge element to that in that a lot of the times the level will try to cause you to get spooked, and then if you're spooked, you'll make mistakes. And here we have some ghostly dwarves coming from behind. However, we have the high ground. And yep, even ghost dwarves drop satchel charges when they die, and that can be exploited. It actually kind of illustrates how much easier to deal with dwarves are than how much weaker dwarves are than the other explosives units, that fighting against enemy dwarves is actually quite a bit easier than fighting against, for instance, fetch or warlocks. Of course, that's part of the challenge that they gave us the weak explosives unit. Though, on the other hand, dwarves do have satchel charges, which can be useful if you know how to use them.
I'm moving. Let's go.
Of course, the other thing about this mission is, this is kind of implied by the whole asking for volunteers thing. We don't have a very large team for this mission.
Yeah. Let's go. I'm moving.
We're particularly short on bowmen, more so than any other unit type.
Yes, sir? Yes?
Alright. Get you guys into position. We don't want to rush in just yet. But we need to be ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm moving. Yeah.
And now let's just send in a single Berserk. And whoa, that's a lot of Myrkridia. That's enough to be a really serious problem. However, if we just wait, some ghost dwarves will come and do something. And this time, unlike a few minutes ago, the ghost dwarves are actually helping us. It is kind of interesting also to see like the ghost Myrkridia versus the ghost dwarves and bowmen and berserks, and just watching the two different factions of ghosts continuing to fight each other even in death. And it's theoretically possible to lay your own satchel trap to complement theirs, but I've never actually managed it. I always end up just getting one of my dwarves blown up in the process of doing it. However, that greatly reduces the number of Myrkridia we have to deal with. And now it's just a matter of having a good defensive position set up before we fight. And there we go.
Let's go.
Yep, that fight could have been utterly terrible, but thanks to some helpful dead guys, as opposed to the very, very unhelpful dead guys we've been mostly dealing with, it turned out not to be so bad.
I'm moving.
Thanks, ghosts.
Yeah. I'm moving. I'm moving.
Right.
I'm moving.
This is the hallway I was thinking of earlier. In this one, if any of your units gets too close to one of the Stygian Knights, it will cause the... Whoa!
Yeah.
Of course, before that, there's the Ghost Berserks that I completely forgot about. Okay, screw it. Just melee. Of course, the thing about the Ghost Berserks is they always seem to disappear after you just slap them around a little bit.
Let's go.
Alright. Now, this is the hallway I mentioned earlier. If you get too close to any of the Stygian Knights, it will activate and come after you. You really don't want that to happen. However,
I'm moving. Yeah.
I've decided not to, so the technique that you can use is run your units through here one at a time.
Ready.
And they will be able to not get too close to any of the Stygian Knights and avoid triggering them. And then you can just sneak past the Stygian Knights. And there's even a helpful mark on the floor. As long as you stay between these two lines, you're safe. I think that's boring.
I'm moving.
So instead,
Yeah.
I'm going to fight the Stygian Knights. I don't think they all come to life, only some of them do. However, Stygian Knights happen to be very susceptible to being blowed up. So, if I set my dwarves up like this, I can actually kill all of them. And I've decided that's more interesting than just sneaking past them. You can sneak past them if you don't want to do this, but with this method, you don't have to.
Over here. Let's go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Try to avoid losing a berserk to this strategy. And of course the bowmen are going to keep firing just to feel like they're doing something. Okay. Let's give this guy some healing and send in a different berserk.
Let's go. I'm moving.
But yeah, this is significantly more fun than just sneaking past.
Over here. Yeah. I'm moving. Let's go. Yeah. Over here. Let's go.
Okay, just a
I'm
couple
moving.
more.
Let's go. Yeah.
The advantage to having the 3 journeymen is the fact that it gives us a lot of healing options, which means I can afford to let some of my berserks take some damage in the process of doing this.
Let's go.
Okay, all but 2 of them now.
I'm moving.
If this were pretty much any unit type other than Stygian Knights or Thrall, this wouldn't be possible. Or at least any other melee unit, but Stygian Knights or Thrall. But Stygian Knights are slow and wildly vulnerable to explosives. Alright, Tyr, I just need you to lure the last couple of them and we can take care of them. Then we can get out of here. Okay.
Over here.
That's
Let's
one.
go.
And yep, it is all of them that will activate. Which is way more than you can take on if they just get dropped in the middle of your force, but not that hard to take out if you prepare and have explosives. Really, the challenging part of dealing with this part of the level is just the fact that if it's your first time playing, you don't know that it's coming, and it can surprise the crap out of you. But if you know about it, it isn't really that hard to overcome. Like so. Whoa! That was almost really bad. So one of the grenades ricocheted and went straight back to the dwarves. Fortunately, it was a dud. If it hadn't been a dud, all 3 of my dwarves would be dead. Anyway, now we head into this thing. And this thing is a teleporter. It will activate once all of our units are inside of it. How it knows that those are all of our units, I don't know. Let's just say magic. Magic is usually the answer to these kinds of questions. And these guys aren't going to attack us. They're just basically there to hint to us that the teleporter exists. So they step into it and they get teleported, and that allows us to know that we can step into it and we will be teleported.
Yeah.
Fast forward again. Discover the walking time. And now we're over here.
I'm moving. I'm moving. Over here. I'm moving. Yeah. Over here. I'm moving. We'll do it.
Honestly, the Berserks can handle these ghostly bowmen by themselves. We'll need to heal the Berserks periodically, but with the number of Mandrake roots that we have access to, that's not too hard. But I don't believe that anything causes these bowmen to disappear. I believe we actually have to kill them.
Yeah.
Oh, get that last one.
Let's go. Let's go. I'm moving. Yeah. Let's go.
Alright. And heal the last Berserk.
Yeah.
And since we're fighting against enemies that don't have the ability to climb infinitely tall hills, or unclimbable hills, we don't have to. We can actually illustrate the fact that melee units are super effective, essentially, against ranged units.
Yes.
Like so. Whoa.
Casualty.
Well, we lost a Berserk, but then the enemy decided to disappear. That was confusing. Confusing is pretty much this level's whole theme. It's the land of confusing. Which, I gotta admit, fits with the whole ghost concept. We're fighting against the spirits of the dead that are basically just playing out the last things that they did before they died. It's not surprising their behavior is strange and hard to understand. And frankly, in general, this level is really atmospheric. This is a very interesting level. It can be frustrating because a lot of the stuff you have to do is really non-intuitive, but at the same time, it is really atmospheric. And over here, we've reached the crown. Though there are some enemies between us and it.
Let's go.
What?
Okay. including a great many Berserks.
We'll do it.
Okay. Just get into melee combat with them, that usually causes them to vanish.
Yeah.
Yeah. See previous comments regarding non-intuitive behavior of enemies.
Yeah. I'm moving. Yeah.
Now, over here is another artifact that isn't mentioned in the level intro,
Let's
but
go.
it's possible for a Berserk to grab it, and it's a special weapon that they can wield. Let's see what it does. If we can get to it without being killed by Myrkridia, because we do actually have to get past these Myrkridia. I don't believe that they ever just disappear. However, their aggro radius is rather narrow, because they're just kind of wandering around confused. But, see, now he has a glowing sword in his status bar.
I'll do it.
Let's see what happens when he attacks something with it.
Yeah. Let's go. I'm moving.
That's what happens.
Over here.
Yeah, as it happens, that sword is rather powerful. It's never mentioned in the level intro. Nobody talks about it or acknowledges its existence for now. But it will be mentioned later. This sword will come up later. I'm trying to illustrate that, one, it exists, and two, using this sword is one way to get past the Myrkridia in this room. On higher difficulty levels, it's actually necessary to use the sword. On lower difficulty levels, there are other ways you can get past them.
I've got him.
And let's grab ourselves a crown.
I'll do it. He's mine. Moving.
But the downside is that the lightning bolts from the sword can actually cause friendly fire, so you can't use this too close to one of your teammates. And run over and grab here. And we grab the crown. And we won! We have the Ibis Crown. And we get this nice image of the journeyman carrying the crown back out of the catacombs. And we only lost one guy. We lost one Berserk. No surprise that the dwarves were hoarding all the experience for this mission. We killed mostly Myrkridia, but we killed a pretty even split of different unit types. Our kill ratio is 50-1. That's not bad at all. And we have the crown. Now let's find out what we're going to do with it.
Monday, March 2nd, Myrthemne. The events I'm about to relate occurred just a few days after my departure to Forest Heart. In the interest of historical accuracy, I have inserted these pages in my journal to acknowledge this important moment in time. After the Ibis Crown was recovered from the ancient tomb below Myrthemne, a ceremony was held to coronate Ulrich as the new emperor of the Cathbruic Empire. The journeyman, after 100 years of self-imposed penance for being absent during the fall of the city, threw down the gold tiles that hung around their necks and swore fealty to the new emperor. The journeymen were no more. The Heron Guard were reborn. Hours later, Myrthemne was overrun by Myrkridia, and the Heron Guard were given their chance at redemption.
Now we can see this scene of Ulrich being coronated, interspersed with shots from outside. And one very unlucky bowman. And now, this is very much like the first mission of the episode, except with the roles reversed. Now we're defending the city from the enemy trying to get in. Mission objectives. Defend the walls of Myrthemne from the enemy. Don't let the enemy get past you and move deep into the city. Hints. Heron Guards have the Journeyman's healing skills and carry mandrake roots. They can pick up the roots of dead Heron Guards. Try to prevent ghouls from piling satchel charges against the walls. If you're having trouble defending the walls, try defending the ramps leading up to them. Counter the enemy's large units with your own.
I'm telling you, those were standard charges for 25-pound mortars.
But they were cannons.
But what were they set up like mortars for then?
Hey, did any of you just hear something?
Yep, we have to deal with Myrkridian Giants now.
Go for help. We'll hold them off as long as we can.
Yep, we're dealing with Myrkridian Giants now. One of the effects of Myrkridian Giants is that they have an explosive attack.
What now?
They actually have a mana meter, too. When the Myrkridian Giant's mana meter is full, it can throw a volley of exploding skulls, which can do a lot of damage. And we get Dwarven Mortars again. Alright. Your aim was pretty bad on that one.
Catch!
Okay, that's one down. Berserks are going to have to take care of the next one. The Berserks finally have to earn their pay for the episode.
Let's go.
Or for the mission, really. They did plenty in the last episode.
New units received.
I'm moving.
Okay. Okay. And reinforcements are arriving, but they're not here yet, so we need to continue fighting the Myrkridia with the guys that we've got. And if you listen closely, you hear the sound of giant footsteps. Yeah, the enemy gets large units, but the good news is, so do we.
Casualty.
And we already managed to lose somebody because of improper ordnance handling. We also have a brand new unit type. These are the Heron Guard. They're what they used to be journeymen, now they're not anymore. So, the story behind them is, before the beginning of the first game, the Heron Guard were like the elite guardians of this city, Myrthemne. Myrthemne fell to the armies of the Dark way back during the time of the first game. Way back before the first game. And so, the Heron Guard were shamed by allowing their city to fall, and so, in penance, they became the Journeymen. Okay, we got some Myrkridia climbing the ramp.
Move here, move there.
And so, now that the city has been reclaimed and there's a new emperor on the throne, they can actually they can essentially go back to being Heron Guard and reclaim their honor. And this mission is their first chance to show that they actually have lost none of their aptitude for fighting.
Catch!
Whoa. Okay, I'll let the Trow handle the last of these.
Idiot!
There are two ramps that we need to defend.
Yes.
One up here, and one down on the southern side of the map. Each ramp leads directly to a notched portion in the wall, where the enemy will be able to blow a hole in the wall. Now, they're having ghouls lay satchel charges in front of the wall as part of their plan to damage it. We need to stop them from doing that. The only unit that's going to get into position to do so in time is a Trow. Okay, these guys just need to go south to get to the other ramp.
What?
Of course, now we have to deal with the Myrkridian Giant. If they have a full mana bar, they can use their skull attack once. Like that. Also, unlike Trow, Myrkridian Giants do not turn to stone at critical health. Whoa. Also, the enemy has a lot more... And we already lost somebody, I'm not sure where. We already lost 2 somebodies. Pretty sure both were Berserks. But we have now officially lost the Heron Guard. That's one of the challenges of this level, is the enemy is going to attack from both ramps, and so you have to constantly rotate between the 2 sides. Though in a bit of good news, each Heron Guard carries 1 Mandrake root, which allows them to heal one of their teammates once. The Heron Guard will become our standard melee unit. So this means that we're actually going to usually have... Well, first of all, for pretty much every mission for the rest of the game, we will have some ability to heal ourselves. And second of all, we'll actually tend to have more heals per mission than we had back when we just had Journey. Because you'll usually have 8 to 12 Heron Guard, each of whom can heal 1 ally. I'm going to send this... I'm going to send this dwarf down this way to reinforce this side because they took some casualties. And that's what this level is going to be like. Defend the 2 ramps. And don't let the enemy blow a hole in the wall. If any enemy units make it over to here, towards the eastern edge of the map, we lose. Okay.
Incoming!
Okay, one more shot.
Look out!
Good enough. We're gonna have to finish it off with melee. Also, whoa! Didn't see the other one. Okay, Heron Guards, just go.
Casualty.
Now we've already lost a Trow.
Casualty.
Though Critical Injury Man over here managed to survive that fight despite being critically injured for the majority of it. Okay. Yeah, that's one of the things about this fight. It's very easy to get tunnel vision and focus on just one part of what's going on and miss out on something important happening elsewhere. Technically speaking, letting the wall be destroyed is not the lose condition. It's letting the enemy get far into the city. Of course, letting the wall be destroyed will make it pretty hard to stop them from doing that. And losing one of the Trow early like I did is bad news. And we have a group of Soulless, and the Dwarves get to have a little bit of payback on the Soulless this time. Because the Dwarven Mortars have longer range than Soulless do. Okay. Now I see another Myrkridian Giant.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the Myrkridian Giant's AI is not very good in regards to figuring out who will be hit by their... Whoa, that ain't good.
Casualty.
And one of my...
Casualty.
Well, that went all kinds of wrong. The Dwarven Mortar took a small amount of damage from the Myrkridian Giant's projectile, causing him to misfire and blow himself up. Wonderful.
Incoming!
Trow, target the Myrkridian Giant. Come on. Yeah, much like dealing with Trow, if you surround a Myrkridian Giant with melee units, you can overwhelm them fairly quickly. On the other hand, they also do a lot of damage, and the thing about this level is there's just a lot of attrition in this level. unfortunately, the Heron Guards don't keep any of the experience they had from when they were journeymen, though I suppose being a journeyman is a very different job than being a Heron Guard. Alright. Killing the ghouls isn't too meaningful, because they've already piled up enough satchel charges next to the wall that if any of them manages to detonate one, the wall is done. Just one and the wall is done, I guess.
Casualty.
Great.
What now?
Okay, fortunately we managed to wear this one down pretty hard. On the other hand, okay, don't fire anymore.
Casualty.
How many of them are there? Well, actually, the soul has indicated the halfway point. A bit more exploding. Of the non-contagious variety. That was weird. So the dwarven mortar projectile actually scattered the massive projectiles that the Myrkridian Giant threw. I've never seen that happen before. It doesn't surprise me, though. That's the way that the engine works. So, where projectiles can affect other projectiles. But so the dwarven mortar bomb hit, and it actually caused the cluster of projectiles from the Myrkridian Giant to fly apart. That's cool. You learn something new about... Much like Halo, the mechanics are so complicated that you really learn something new about them every day. Right. We've managed to take out a lot of the enemy, but we've also lost a very large portion of what we had. In fact, I'm curious about something. If you hold down F7, it will show you how long the mission has been going and what percentage of your force you have left. So we have 62% of our force, and we're 12 minutes in. However... Okay, now we have more Soulless to do. I believe this is the last group, actually. And that's the end of them. Or perhaps I'm wrong. Oh, nope, there's more. Oh, kidding, there is always more. This level doesn't actually ever end. Myrkridia are like work or sorrow. There's always more. Wow, we actually got through... Oh, that was it. That was the last group. There we go. And that was our first taste of the Heron Guard, and our first taste of Myrkridian Giants. I'm gonna be honest, that's one of my favorite levels. I always have had a bit of a soft spot for that level, because it's just this big, serious fight with a lot of resources on both sides. It's really fun to do those kinds of missions. Also, for the most part, that mission is about managing attrition. It's very hard to finish that mission without losing people, and so the challenge is making sure that you lose a number of units that you can afford to live without. Anyway, with another 3 missions down and the honor of the Heron Guard restored, that is going to be the end for this episode. Thank you all for watching, I love you all, and I will see you next time.